Okay. I need you to be honest with me. If someone spends hours, like actual, physical, hand-cramping hours, making you something, and you change it, does that make you ungrateful? Or does it just make you practical? Because apparently, in my family, I committed a crime against yarn. And I genuinely don't know if I'm the villain in this story. So here's everything. And I mean everything. I'm 20. I knit. Not like casually once a year. I knit. I understand fiber content, dye lots, gauge swatches, blocking mats, the heartbreak of being off by half a stitch. I know what it means when someone gives you something handmade. Which is why this whole situation is making me spiral. My sister-in-law, my brother's wife, is also a knitter. A big one. The kind of knitter who laughs and says she has a stash beyond life expectancy. And she does. I've seen it. Bins. Shelves. Vacuum-sealed bags. It's impressive and slightly intimidating. One day, out of nowhere, she offers to knit me a sweater. And that's not small. If you don't knit, let me translate. A sweater is a commitment. Depending on the pattern, that can be 30, 40, 60+ hours. It's not a scarf. It's not a quick beanie. It's a project. So I'm touched. Genuinely. And because I knit, I try to be respectful about it. I say yes, but I also say, hey, could I maybe choose the color? And I'll absolutely pay for the yarn. I wasn't trying to control anything. I just know what I wear. I know what hangs untouched in my closet. And I know how sad it feels to knit something for someone that never sees daylight. She immediately says no to both. She says she wants to use up something from her stash. Says not to worry about paying. She seems excited about it. So I back off. I'm like, okay. This is her gift. I'll trust her vision. Weeks go by. She finishes it. And objectively, the craftsmanship is beautiful. The fit is perfect. It hugs my shoulders exactly right. The sleeves are the perfect length. The stitch definition is gorgeous. Like, she did an amazing job. But it's beige. And I need you to understand something about me. I do not wear beige. Not because I hate neutrals in theory. But on me. Beige drains the life out of my face. I look like I'm buffering. I look like a Victorian child about to faint. I live in plums. Roses. Terra-cottas. Olive greens. Warm, muted colors. I know what works for me. I've figured it out the hard way through years of buying things and never wearing them. So I'm holding this sweater and I'm having this internal crisis. Because I love the effort. I love that she thought of me. I love the sweater structurally. But I know. I will never reach for a beige sweater. And here's the thing that people don't talk about. The guilt of unused handmade gifts is worse than store-bought ones. If someone buys you a candle and you don't love the scent, it's fine. You tuck it somewhere. If someone knits you a sweater and you don't wear it, it feels like you're disrespecting hours of their life. So I try to wear it once. I put it on. I look in the mirror. And I just feel, not like me. It's not ugly. It's just not mine. And it sits in my closet for a few weeks. Every time I see it, I feel guilty. Because I can hear her saying, I made that for you. And I can hear myself saying, I'll wear it soon. But I don't. Then one day I'm reorganizing my yarn, and it hits me. It's wool. Good wool. Wool takes dye beautifully. And I know how to dye yarn. I've done it before. I understand acid dyes, heat setting, color depth. I know how to do it safely without ruining the structure. And this idea forms in my head. What if I just dye it? Not unravel it. Not change the pattern. Not alter her work. Just shift the color. Because here's my logic. If I leave it beige, it lives in my closet and slowly becomes a monument to guilt. If I dye it into something I love, I'll wear it constantly. It will actually live. And isn't that better? So I do it. Carefully. Respectfully. I test a swatch first. I choose this soft mossy green like muted olive with depth. Something that still feels natural, but alive. I dye it evenly. I rinse it gently. I block it again. And when it dries, it's stunning. The green gives the stitches dimension. It brings out the texture. It looks intentional, like it was always meant to be that color. And when I put it on, I feel like myself. And I start wearing it all the time. To class. To coffee shops. To the grocery store. On lazy Sundays. It becomes one of my favorite pieces. Which, in my head, means I made the right choice. Because her work isn't sitting unused. It's part of my life. Months later, I go home to visit my family. I live in a different city, so I don't see them often. We're all hanging out. Casual. Normal. I'm wearing the sweater. She looks at me and goes, "That looks like the sweater I made you." And I smile. Because I'm proud of it. I'm like, "It is. I dyed it." I say it casually. Honestly. No weirdness. No secrecy. And she just stares. It's one of those stares where you immediately realize something is wrong, but you don't know what yet. And then she says, slowly, "I wish you would have told me you were going to do something like that. I wouldn't have wasted my Malabrigo on you." And that word. Wasted. It's like someone dropped a weight on the table. Malabrigo, by the way, is not cheap yarn. It's nice. It's soft. It's kind of a treat yarn. But wasted. I'm stunned. I immediately say, "No, I love it. I just wouldn't have worn it as beige." I'm trying to explain that this was me trying to honor the sweater by making sure it gets worn. But she gets this tight expression. Like she's sucking on a lemon. And she says, "I'll remember to never knit anything for you ever again." Then she stands up and leaves the room. And that's it. No yelling. No big confrontation. Just this heavy silence. I don't talk to her for the rest of the night. And now I'm stuck in this weird emotional limbo. Because part of me feels bad. Maybe she felt like I erased her creative choice. Maybe she saw the beige as intentional and meaningful. Maybe dyeing it felt like repainting someone's artwork without asking. But another part of me feels like, once you give someone a gift, it's theirs. If someone gifts you a painting and you frame it differently, is that disrespectful? If someone buys you jeans and you tailor them, is that offensive? If someone gives you a plant and you repot it into a different pot, is that betrayal? I didn't destroy it. I didn't complain. I didn't ask her to redo it. I didn't post about how I hated the color. I quietly adjusted it so it could actually be part of my life. And I keep going back to the beginning. I did ask to choose the color. I offered to pay. She declined. So was I supposed to just accept that the color choice was permanent forever? Is there an unspoken rule in the knitting world that says, "Thou shalt not alter the fiber"? Because I'm genuinely asking. And what makes it harder is that I'm also a knitter. If I made someone a sweater and they dyed it because they wanted to wear it more, I think I'd be happy they cared enough to keep it in rotation. But maybe that's easy to say until it's your yarn. Maybe the real issue isn't the dye. Maybe it's that she wanted control over the project from start to finish. And when I changed one piece of it, it felt like rejection. Or maybe she thinks I'm ungrateful. And that's what bothers me most. Because I wasn't ungrateful. I was practical. I wanted to love it fully. Now I won't see her again for a while because I live in another city. So this just kind of lingers unresolved. And I don't know if I should apologize. For what? For wanting to wear the sweater? Or should I stand my ground and accept that maybe she's just hurt and that's not something I can fix? So yeah. That's how dyeing a beige sweater green turned into a weird family fracture. Be honest with me. If you were in my position, would you have left it beige and let it collect dust? Or would you have done exactly what I did and hoped the intention mattered more than the color? Update. So here's where it gets messy. Because I wish I could tell you that it ended there. That it was just an awkward night, we all moved on, and life went back to normal. It didn't. After that visit, I went back to my city and tried not to think about it. But you know when something small happens and your brain just keeps replaying it at 2 a.m.? That was me. I kept hearing, "I wouldn't have wasted my Malabrigo on you." And it wasn't even about the yarn at that point. It was the on you part. Like I wasn't worth good yarn. Like I'd failed some test. A few days later, my brother called me. which already felt ominous. He doesn't usually call out of nowhere. And he was like, "Hey, so, what happened with the sweater?" And immediately my stomach drops because I realize, oh, this has been discussed. Without me. Apparently she was really upset. Not yelling, not dramatic. Just hurt. And she told him she felt like I didn't appreciate her work. That dyeing it without telling her felt sneaky. Like I waited until it was done and then altered it behind her back. That word bothered me. Sneaky. Because I didn't hide it. I wore it openly. I told her the second she asked. But I guess from her perspective, I made a decision about her handmade gift without including her. My brother wasn't attacking me. He was just trying to smooth things over. He said, "You know how much time she put into that. She picked that yarn specifically." And I said, "I know. That's why I dyed it instead of not wearing it." There was this long pause. And he goes, "I think she would have preferred you just not wear it." And that confused me. Because isn't the whole point of making a wearable item that it gets worn? That conversation sat with me for weeks. I started second-guessing everything. Maybe I should have texted her first. Maybe I should have just sucked it up and worn beige sometimes. Maybe I should have quietly let it live in my closet and avoided the whole thing. But here's the thing I couldn't shake. If I hadn't dyed it, I genuinely would not be wearing it. And I wear it constantly now. So a couple weeks later, I decided to reach out to her directly. Not defensive. Not argumentative. Just honest. I texted her something like, "Hey, I've been thinking about the sweater conversation and I'm really sorry if dyeing it hurt you. That genuinely wasn't my intention. I love the fit and the work you put into it. I dyed it because I wanted to make sure I wore it all the time instead of letting it sit. I should have communicated first. And then I waited. You know that horrible feeling after you send a vulnerable text? Where you immediately want to throw your phone into the ocean? That was me." She didn't respond for hours. Then she sent back a long message. And this is where it shifted. She said that when she picked the beige, she thought it was classic and timeless. She thought it would go with everything. She imagined me wearing it for years. She said she chose that specific skein of Malabrigo because it was soft and she doesn't use it for just anyone. And when she saw it dyed, she felt like her taste had been rejected. That's when it clicked for me. It wasn't about the dye. It was about feeling like her creative decision wasn't good enough. And I get that. As makers, there's ego involved whether we admit it or not. You pour hours into something. You picture it a certain way. You attach meaning to your choices. And I had changed one of her choices. So I told her that. I said, it wasn't about your taste being wrong. It was about me knowing I wouldn't wear that color. I should have pushed harder at the beginning about picking a shade I'd actually use. That part's on me. And then I said something that I think mattered. If I didn't value your work, I wouldn't have bothered dyeing it carefully. I would have let it sit. There was another pause. And then she responded with something softer. She admitted she might have overreacted in the moment. She said hearing I dyed it caught her off guard and made her feel embarrassed, like other people in the room might think I didn't like what she made. Which I hadn't even considered. In my head, it was just a color change. In her head, it was public feedback. That hit me. Because if someone altered something I made and announced it casually in front of family, maybe I'd feel exposed too. We didn't have some dramatic heart-to-heart resolution. It wasn't a movie ending. But the tone shifted. She didn't apologize directly for the wasted on you comment, but she said she was protective of the yarn and the time she invests in projects. And I said I understood. Since then, it's been normalish. We're not best friends. We never were. But there's no cold tension anymore. And here's the ironic part. I wore the green sweater again when I visited at Christmas. She noticed. She didn't make a comment about the dye. She just said, "It fits you well." And that was it. No edge. No bitterness. Just neutral. And honestly, that felt like progress. So here's where I've landed after months of overthinking this. Handmade gifts are complicated. They carry effort, identity, pride. But once something is gifted, it still belongs to the recipient. I think both things can be true at once. I could have communicated better. She could have reacted more gently. No one was evil. No one was malicious. It was just two people with different expectations about what happens after a gift changes hands. And I still wear that sweater constantly. It's broken in now. Softer. The green has mellowed beautifully. Every time I put it on, I think about how weirdly layered one object can become. It's yarn. It's effort. It's ego. It's miscommunication. It's growth. So now I'm curious. If you made something by hand for someone, would you feel hurt if they altered it? Or once you gift something, do you truly let it go?